Okay, looks like we're live. Hey, I'm Powered Up Mike, and welcome to the next episode of the games I've played. And just like last time, this is a recorded good version. And although I couldn't get it like last week, recorded from the actual radio quality, I apologize. But this is the best I got, and I'll be in chat in case anything happens. But yep, as you see, we'll be discussing DDR Dance Wars this week, and please enjoy. The radio, and yeah, I'm back again for another week. Week of the games I've played, and well, this one I'll be playing a game that is a little more obscure, but it still was, it gave me plenty of memories growing up. And while starting things off, let's just talk about, the games we've played in childhood, okay? So what happens is, growing up, my generation, Gen Z, if that's what you want to call it, mobile gaming was a huge thing 10 years ago. It's like, it still is nowadays, of course, but 10 years ago, it was such a big, brand new, exciting concept that, hadn't really been done before. Like, games available at your fingertips, and yeah. Now, what happened with me is, so one of the first times I really got into a mobile game was just DDR Dance Wars. And sadly, this game is no longer available for purchase. It's no longer available for play. But it's been 10 years, and I might as well talk about it and share my memories, if I may. Now, for coming up on this month, it'll be 15 years since I first started playing DDR, and although I've played it more in some years than others, I've always loved the series. It means a lot to me, and yeah. But DDR Dance Wars, it's like, at the time, in 2013, this is literally 10 years ago, it's like, yeah, console games were on their way out, and this is when, in America at least, the series was, not very active, for lack of a better term. It just wasn't. But the thing is, it's just that, it was something new that Konami tried with the game, and, when you have something new and exciting, you want to be a part of it. And I remember going to Xenius Vanisher. Yeah, I read that website for so many years before I finally made an account on it last year. But I remember reading the news about a new DDR game coming out, and I simply had to have it. And besides, it was for iPad and iPhones and whatnot, and my family, we had an iPad at the time, and it was a perfect opportunity for me to get involved with the new game. Now, of course, I did have DDR-S Plus, but that game, it could have been a lot better. But me being young and, eager, I was willing to give this new game a try, and right off the bat, DDR Dance Wars had a lot of improvements over the previous one. Mainly in the sense of, you only had to pay once and you could get more songs. Because with S Plus, there were no song unlocks. You only had 3 songs, and if you wanted more, pay up. It wasn't really the most ideal thing, but it was that or nothing. But with Dance Wars coming along right off the bat, you could get bonus stuff. There was an unlock system. Just play missions to unlock more songs, and hey, it was a pretty good deal. And the missions themselves weren't actually impossible, unlike the ones the console games had. Yeah, some of those missions from the American console games, some of them I still think are kind of humanly impossible. But going back to the Dance Wars missions, I was able to whip through that mission mode in a reasonable amount of time. I mean, of course, this is 10 years ago, so I don't remember everything about it, but I just remember none of them gave me too much trouble. But the big thing about Dance Wars was, it was an attempt at like a social game. Like a social networking type of game. Like, you had to make an account. But there was a flaw with that, but the game did have some flaws that I'll get into a little bit later, but yeah. you could have your own little profile. Now, it was pretty cool, but it was bundled with this service called Gree, and I don't think that's even a service anymore. Well, the website, when I've looked it up, it's something completely different. And yeah, things have changed a lot in the last 10 years. In terms of, apps and how they function. But the mission mode, yeah, that was a pretty nice feature. And I mean, it had a pretty nice amount of songs for an inexpensive game. And yeah, of course, if you didn't have many DDR console games back then, it was nice to get access to songs that you didn't have. Besides, it was an easy-to-access platform because with mobile gaming on the rise rapidly, it was a perfect opportunity to introduce the game to new audiences, and it worked. Although there was another way of unlocking even more songs that didn't involve payment, the sticker system, and honestly, it was pretty flawed. Now, it was called Dance Wars because the main emphasis of the game was you could link up with other people's and their accounts, and you could do these so-called battles where you'd play a song and, whoever got the higher score in the end, yeah, you'd win a sticker. I think you needed either 5 or 6 pieces of a sticker to make up the song banner, and when you had all 5 pieces on hand, you'd get the song. And it sounds fine on paper, but it wasn't all so nice looking back. Even then, it wasn't that nice. Now, when you play, I believe from what I recall, if you did really well on a certain song, you could save that as your score that people would try to beat. But of course, during the song, depending on how well you do, the game would automatically send attacks your way, and you could send attacks to their way or something. I forget how it all worked. Again, it's been 10 years. But the one really annoying thing is these weren't free. There was a system. It was kind of like a life counter. Now, it's kind of like how in other games you need energy to play the puzzles or lives to play the levels. Or like a ticket. But the stamina system, yeah, you only had a certain amount per day. And yeah, if you had to use some up to play one of these battles or dance wars, and if you lost, tough luck. You were out of a sticker, you were out of stamina. No matter how close you were, you wouldn't get refunded stamina. Until later, of course, but if you got your sticker, hey, it worked out. But the worst part was, even after you got a sticker, another player could seize your sticker, and you'd be trying so hard to get everything, and oops, you'd wake up one morning and this person seized your sticker. And it was pretty obnoxious. It's you'd be fighting and the game would just take it all away, and it was pretty sad. And looking back, I don't think I got all the sticker unlocks. There's another reason why I didn't get all the unlocks. I'll get to it, but remember how I said this was about social networking, the game? Well, maybe it wasn't the best idea to make the message function yell. Because if you're mad, come on, it's only going to egg people on to send an annoyed message to someone who took their sticker that they probably fought tooth and nail to get. And just for record keeping, this was all played on touchscreen. There were no pad attachments. But at least they were actual step charts, not randomly generated charts that other games had at the time. That's another story. So the sticker system, yeah, it was a process. But then again, there were other songs you could buy, music packs you could buy for real money, but if you know me and my family, yeah, we don't give a dime, not a single cent to those mobile games. And yeah, microtransactions, they're not always the greatest thing, and I don't think they're ever really that good to begin with. But it is what it is, and I never bought any of the music packs, but for those that did, hey, good for you. I doubt anyone listening ever actually played the game like me, but But there were some other marketing and tie-ins and other events the game had that were pretty fun, like if you downloaded Juke Beat, yeah, the English version of U-Beat, from the App Store. You could get access to 3 exclusive songs, which was honestly pretty cool. And hey, it's a great way to get access and try out other games made by Konami. And there were event songs. Now, I missed the first one. Yeah, the first event was Unidentified Funky Objects. It was UFO themed, and a battle of the dancers versus aliens. I think it ended just 10 years ago around this time. Well, the game came out, February 14th, 2013, and I started around March playing, so I just missed the Funky Objects event, but the other one over the summer I remember doing was Bingo Party, and that was actually pretty fun. And the dancing characters that you could pick, they could get little accessories. Like, one of the fun parts was your character could wear a bingo hat if you participated in, like, a party hat. And it was honestly a little cute little detail they put in, and I don't think they have that nowadays in modern DDR, like character accessories. They don't have it in Ace 3 for all I know, and, well, on Grand Prix, they sure don't. The song wasn't anything special. Just, casually play the song, and that was that. And it was obvious that this game was heavily modded after S Plus and S. Yeah, there were no challenge charts. But maybe it was all for the best that it was a little more beginner-friendly. But there were no courses in the game, which was honestly a little bit of a letdown looking back. No endless mode either, but I think there was an extra stage system. Well, according to Remy Wiki, there was. But I can't tell you how many times I played My Only Shining Star. Because that was one of the default songs, and that was one of the few songs that people had when you were collecting the stickers. And even though the song My Only Shining Star is from 2006, I'll still forever associate it with 2013 because of this game. And going back to Gree, the social networking part, the game was rated. I forget what the game's age rating was, but it was kid-friendly, completely kid-friendly, but to have the Gree account, which you needed to play the game, you needed to be 21. And it was a really odd choice, and I don't know why they did it, but they just did. Konami did, and it was a strange choice. But it didn't stop people from around the world playing the game. It didn't stop them. Even though Gree was mainly a thing in Japan, it didn't stop people from around the world. It was a truly global release, and I'm glad it was truly global for reasons like that. And one other thing I remember, it's there was an item shop. Now, remember how I said the stamina would go down? I believe you could get, respect points, what they were called, if you played songs well enough. It was an in-game currency where you could buy, literally cheeseburgers and fries and I think a soda. And it's each of them had, different values that could restore your stamina. It was nice, but I don't know if it was the most effective. There was another sort of upgrade you could give your account. It's it'd give you different powers, like a 10% score boost or whatever. And I think I covered about all the game mechanics to it, and it was honestly pretty fun. It was a fresh take on DDR, and besides, you gotta remember at the time, it's been 2 years since X2 came out in the arcades, and Konami still didn't release X3 in American arcades. I'm old enough to remember a time where X3 on Wikipedia said that the game was temporarily suspended for the US, although in reality it never came out. It's a rotten shame, but it's so strange how it's there technically was a market for it all along, albeit a small one, but Konami, I don't know if they fully capitalized on it until maybe too late. Actually, no, they didn't. It just took them a little while for them to capitalize on the small American DDR fan base. I mean, it's larger now, I'd say, than it was then because of newer games like Ace 2O, and whatnot, but Dance Wars, it was a fun game, although it had its flaws, but I kept mentioning it's been 10 years, it's been 10 years. It's well, the game was only available from February to August 2013. According to RemiWiki, it was delisted from the App Store in July. And then at the end of August 2013, the game shut down. And why did they shut it down? Well, according to the sources I have, it wasn't because of lack of players. It wasn't because of lack of funding. It wasn't because it was running on extremely outdated hardware. But why was it shut down? The online team was retiring. Konami didn't bother to hire anyone else just because the only team they had decided to retire from online gaming. They just shut it down and forgot about it. And the thing is, while S Plus was still a thing at the time for years to come, although it might have been delisted, I think that game's delisted by now, but still accessible if you have an old device. But you didn't have to shell out all sorts of money for a game. Because with S Plus, it's like, if you were stuck playing the same 3 songs in every mode. Yeah, there was an information mode. Yeah, there was a training mode in that game, but there were courses, there was shake mode, where you could shake your device instead of touching the screen, which was an interesting concept, but not very practical. There was no endless mode, no courses in Dance Wars, but they had that in S Plus, and unless you wanted to shell out even more money, you were stuck playing those same 3 songs. But with Dance Wars, it's like they addressed the criticisms, but then they took it all away in a matter of months. And for quite some time, for almost a year, I remember you could still open up the app, the Dance Wars app, but you could access your Gree account, so little 11 and 12-year-old me would just use it as a blog and post about little stuff, like DDR-related stuff. Yeah, I don't have access to that anymore, and I don't think any of the accounts still exist because, well, the website doesn't mention any of it, so I still don't even know what the Gree company does nowadays. I'll have to check, but when you loaded up that title screen, and of course you were permanently locked out of it since it was an online service-based game, it was just a sad reminder of what once was, and how something that could have been long-lasting, really exciting, just was tossed aside so quickly. And to make matters kind of worse, this was the last America saw of DDR for years to come, especially with more and more, what's the word? I'm blanking, but, and for years, this was all that Konami gave the America in terms of DDR. It's like, unless you went back and played the older games, it's like, tough luck. That was it. This was it. Yeah, and at the time, it's like, S Plus wasn't getting any more music, and even then, you'd still have to shell out $1 per song, unless you bought a pack. And yet, what's strange is, even though Juke Beat, the U-Beat series it was much less popular in America, and come on, DDR is more recognizable than Juke Beat. I'm pretty sure everybody listening hasn't heard of Juke Beat until now. Not even like places like Round 1 and David Buster's have Juke Beat or U-Beat. I don't think they have it. But until like 2017, maybe 2018, Konami supported Juke Beat in America. They released music packs and songs for it and everything. And it was such a strange idea. It's like Konami literally shut down a game that was more recognizable and was probably going to give them more money than Juke Beat ever would have. And I think they did the same with another game they made, Reflect Beat. Yeah, it was just such a bad business decision. And to this day, it's still kind of confusing on why it all happened, but, well, it's too late to go back now. So for that, 5 months I did play the game, I enjoyed it. I honestly did. But, well, it was kind of a sad time, to be a DDR fan. It's like, the US wasn't getting anything, and of course there was Step Mania if you wanted to play the newer songs, although it wasn't official, of course. But going back to Dance Wars, it was a game that could have been so much more. It was a really unique idea. And I mean, with a few more game updates and stuff, it could have been something extra awesome, but it was just a case of lost potential, and sadly, the game has fallen into obscurity, and, Well, for all I know, it's what people like to call lost media. And it's not mentioned on Lost Media Wiki anywhere. I don't think any, archive of the game exists. I know that S Plus still exists on some people's older devices. I know an archived version of S still exists. But then, of course, there was the other mobile game, DDR Freedom from 2011. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. Now, that game got shut down in a matter of weeks because of how bad it was. And that's more understandable than, shutting down a game just because the online team was retiring. You're a big company, you have a game that could make, lots of money, and if it was because of lack of players and lack of interest and lack of funds from the game, that would have been understandable. But the only reason I could ever find was the online team retiring. That's just ridiculous. But the thing is, the big question is, could it have suffered a worse fate? DDR Dance Wars, is it better that it shut down when it did, that instead of going on for too long? Maybe. Because my mom texted me and wanted me to mention her game, Hidden City, and that reminded me of something. She used to play another game before Hidden City. She always loved hidden objects and puzzle games, which were common at the time. And, with mobile games, there's a thing called shovelware. They're basically any games that were designed poorly just to make a quick buck. Now, Dance Wars, yes, it had flaws, but it wasn't designed poorly. It wasn't shovelware. It had a nice selection of songs. It had a nice unlock system. It did its best with, social networking and all that stuff, but the game, it wasn't bought out by a shovelware company, because another game I know of, Gardens of Time, it got bought out by a shovelware company, and the game just fell apart. It became unplayable, where the game would crash at random points. The game got abandoned, but it was still so-called supported, even though the developers, they didn't care. They just wanted money. But at the end of the day, as ridiculous as it was for Dance Wars to get shut down, it debatably had a less bad fate when you think about it in that case. But at the end of the day, you never appreciate what you have until it's gone. And then again, yeah, DDR, it was kind of dormant in the US for years, but things changed when in 2015 when the location test for a new game happened. And then, of course, with DDR Ace coming out in the US, Ace 2.0 and Ace 2.0 Plus, and the gold cabinets coming to America with the Ace 3 update. Although Ace 3 isn't available fully in America yet, at least it's still playable on the gold machines, and hey, it's progress. And, it's nice to see things come back, and, if things can get better, imagine what it would be like if, by some miracle, this game, Dance Wars, could come back and, people could relive it again. There's plenty of services and fan projects that bring back old stuff like Reconnect 24 and WeamFi. Those are great projects that I've used for bringing back discontinued services. And Sudo Memo, that was always fun to browse. It still is, but, it'd be interesting to see what the future holds. See if this game could get found again. But it's been 10 years. I don't think it will be, but, it was just an interesting time in, my DDR career. I was a part of something that, just doesn't exist anymore. I was technically a part of DDR history, by being one of those active players in an online game, and it was really unique. And not to ramble on, but, it was a fun game. And if I were to go back 10 years ago, and it's if you wanted me to give you an iPad game recommendation, I'd say that one, because it was a fun game anyone could get behind, and, it was just, creative. And mobile games at the time, they just felt more creative because it was something brand new. Nowadays, with mobile gaming, it's a lot of them are just a dime a dozen and shovelware and ad infested and too many in-app purchases. But this game, it wasn't infested with ads, and the in-app purchases, they were kept to a minimum, and it just worked out. But it goes to show that, how 10 years ago, in terms of gaming, we were really in a transitioning era. A lot has changed since then. And it's kind of interesting how the game was never released on any other platforms and no offline patch was made available. Because although Konami's e-amusement service has been shut down for a variety of their DDR games, there was still an offline patch you could play if the machine hadn't been upgraded. Albeit you couldn't have the bonus features like calorie burning and score saving. But that was okay. But maybe things would have been better if the game was just left as is in an offline patch. And it's as a thank you for playing gift, you'd get all the sticker unlocks. That would have been nice, but of course, it just didn't work out, and, well, it's a rotten shame that things ended the way they did, but, well, some things you can't control. And, well, that's the way it's been, and that's the way it's always gonna be. I'm trying to think of other memories, it's it was just any random people playing the game, and, it worked, and the thing is, it was ease of access, because the current console home release, Grand Prix for PC, you have to jump through hurdles to get to it, get to play it, and even then, that game kinda is a bit of a penny pincher. But the song list is large enough for me to let it slide, and hey, it's official. But with Grand Prix, it could have been, it still has its flaws, but Grand Prix, I don't think it'll be as good as Dance Wars was. Because Dance Wars, it was a great idea for a game, like I've kept saying, but for now, it's only just a memory now. And when I go home for spring break, I gotta find the pictures I took of that game. I took a few screenshots of the game. I think a results screen, some funny character dialogue, and a high score. And I think maybe something else. But hey, stuff like this belongs in a museum, honestly. Because, it's a game that no longer exists, and who knows if it actually does exist in some way, shape, or form, This is how you preserve the classics, and it's sometimes it's the only way to experience things again. Now, I'm a believer in terms of emulation in the fact that it's not one size fits all. There are times to emulate and times not to emulate, but with a game like Dance Wars, it's if it were to come back, come on. Emulation is the only, and I mean the only way to play it if you could find it. And I'm surprised it hasn't been reverse engineered by now. To find a way inside of it, but again, with a game being kind of obscure, it's understandable. But it was a fun event, and honestly, I don't think any other mobile game was as good as Dance Wars was. Magic Piano was fun, but it kind of got ruined later on with all the ads and the washed out color scheme. And Candy Crush became maybe too long of a game. And, but with Dance Wars, it had everything you'd want in a good game. It wasn't perfect, but that's okay. And that's all the memories I think should be shared. It's I said my piece, and yeah, might as well just, see, might as well just rewatch some videos of the game from back in the day. Because, we were making memories. We were having fun and making memories playing games like those. And who knows what the future will hold? Who knows if Konami will try again with a more social DDR game? They could do that with Grand Prix for all I know. But I don't think it's going to happen, but well, thank you for tuning into this week's edition of the games I've played, and well, I'll see you another Friday. Bye-bye. And now, back to the music. Okay. Thank you for all those who tuned in. Yep. Hopefully by later on, next week or whenever, I'd get episode 3 out. I mean, I do it on Fridays at my school's radio station, but again, if there's any game you want me to talk about that I've played, I can take requests. But, I mean, it is what it is. I try to stick to, current topics in gaming, like game anniversaries or notable events. But you've heard it first here. Hopefully tomorrow Friday, when I do my radio show, I'll be able to talk about some eShop games I've played, an eShop game I've played. But I'm not gonna spoil it quite yet. I have my pick. That's all I'm gonna tell you. And again, I hope everything turned out okay. If there's anything I should know, just feel free to leave a helpful comment or feedback. But until next time, thanks again for watching. Bye.